I think what I'm about to tell you now is worth your attention. Now, I want you to understand this. Your attention, what you bring your attention to, is not who you are. The famous psychologist Roberto Assagioli said that we are a centre of consciousness with a will. And it's the will part of us that gets into trouble. Because half the time, more than half the time, 95% of the time, we are not observing or not directing our will at all. We're a bit like the old radio transceiver. We radiate thoughts and we receive thoughts. And not only that, we're a bit like one of those seekers on the radio frequency band which seeks out the nearest and strongest radio station. The nearest, strongest radio station in our case being whatever our interests are, and we bring these into our minds, obviously not even consciously. They just arrive in our minds. We don't direct the content most of the time. We therefore are at the mercy of a collective mind of human beings radiating and passing through us and being received by us, subject to our interests. And most of the time we don't realise that. We sort of daydream along thinking that thoughts that come into our mind, how do those thoughts come into our mind? You might say, oh, they're stored in the brain. They're not stored in the brain at all. The brain is like a big switchboard which accepts and interprets and places into words whatever ideas and thoughts come from our mind. Now remember, we have a personal mind and there is a universal mind at an even subtler level. To put it into perspective, or to use a description, we're a bit like icebergs. I've described this before. We're a bit like icebergs floating upon an ocean. The tip of the icebergs, our senses tell us that we are all separate because all we can see is the icebergs around us floating near and at a distance. We know that something like 88% of the iceberg is below the water. This you could call our own subconscious or our own unconscious mind, the things we've stored within us, the beliefs, the ideas. But they're not what we truly are. What we truly are is what we are floating in, the infinite ocean. And we are all connected through the infinite ocean. And yet we put our focus on the bit below the water, allowing these things to influence our lives, our beliefs, what we've learned in a lifetime. They are only part of what we are. We need to be able to bring our attention under the control of our will. The term is to bring your mind under the control of your will. We have a mind, our own personal mind, which is part of the infinite mind. It's our duty to keep our particular mind under control and to use it. That's what we're here for. Our mind is a tool, as is our body. It isn't the essential what we are. We are consciousness with a will. The emphasis should be on consciousness and controlling the will. Once we can do that, We really are in charge of our lives.